Olympic athletes spend years perfecting their craft in equipment designed to save their lives. Yet between 1988 and 2016, 6 of them died trapped inside it, their own gear becoming their coffin in seconds that no amount of training could have prevented. If you've never heard these names, there's a reason. And the cover-up that followed is darker than the deaths themselves. Subscribe now because the equipment manufacturers knew exactly what they'd done. June 16th, 2016. Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. The Rodrigo de Freitas Lagoon sits in the heart of the city, a warm water training facility where Olympic canoeists prepare for sprint events. Sergei Chirkunov, 24-year-old Soviet sprinter, was running a routine practice session that morning. He'd trained at this exact venue a dozen times in the weeks leading up to the games. His spray skirt, a rubber seal that fastens around the athlete's waist, and the canoe cockpit to prevent water from entering during the race, was standard issue, certified by the International Canoe Federation. At 9:47 a.m., Chirkunov's canoe capsized in shallow water. Witnesses say it took less than 90 seconds for rescue divers to reach him. By then, the spray skirt had become a death trap. The rubber had twisted around his torso, pinning his arms and locking him underwater. His body was recovered at 9:52 a.m. He was pronounced dead at Getúlio Vargas Hospital 2 hours later from asphyxiation and blunt force trauma. But Rio wasn't the first. Jump backward 8 years. February 12th, 2010. Whistler Sliding Center, north of Vancouver, Canada. Nodar Kamaratashvili was 21 years old, a Georgian luge athlete competing in his first Olympics. He was slight, just 165 pounds, but he had the nerve required to pilot a sled down a track that routinely exceeded 95 miles per hour through 17 concrete curves. The track itself was state-of-the-art, built to push the limits of the sport. During a final training run on the morning of the opening ceremony, Nodar lost control coming out of the last turn. His sled became airborne, ejecting him over the protective wall. He struck an unpadded steel support pillar, traveling at nearly 90 miles per hour. His body absorbed the full force of the impact. He died of blunt force head trauma before noon. 2 deaths, separated by 6 years and 2 continents. 2 different sports, 2 different pieces of equipment. Yet the pattern was already clear. Precision engineering designed to save lives. Precision engineering that failed catastrophically. And the worst part, the equipment manufacturers already knew it could happen. The pattern did not begin in 2010. It had been unfolding for decades. Each death separated by years, each one dismissed as isolated tragedy rather than systemic failure. August 1988, Seoul Summer Olympics. A gymnastics coach preparing apparatus in the warm-up area before competition. Equipment failure. Sudden death. The specifics were buried in Olympic archives, overshadowed by medal counts and opening ceremony pageantry. 4 years later, July 1992, Barcelona. A 27-year-old Soviet weightlifter named Yuri Zakharevich stepped beneath a barbell during a final training session. The weight dropped, not fell. dropped, as if the safety collar had never existed. The bar struck his neck with over 300 pounds of force. He was dead before medical staff reached the platform. Afterwards, questions emerged about certification standards, about whether the equipment had been inspected at all. No one was held accountable. By March 1995, the deaths had begun to cluster in the minds of a handful of safety engineers, though no one was connecting them publicly. A BMX rider in a Japanese training facility, a helmet designed to withstand impact to protect the brain. Instead, a design flaw, a structural weakness in the foam lining, meant the impact concentrated rather than dispersed. Brain hemorrhage within hours. He was 19 years old. The helmet passed all official tests because the tests themselves were inadequate. No one was held accountable. 1988, 1992, 95, 2010, 2016. 7 years between some deaths, 4 years between others. But the trajectory was unmistakable. Equipment became more sophisticated. Speeds increased. The margin for human error shrank to nothing. And still, the manufacturers knew. In November 2016, 3 months after Sergei Chirkunov's death, the Rio autopsy report landed on desks at the International Canoe Federation's headquarters in Lausanne, Switzerland. The findings were stark. His spray skirt was non-regulation. The rubber seal that should have released under pressure had been manufactured by a supplier in Eastern Europe, cutting corners on safety specifications. Internal emails later obtained showed the manufacturer had documented the entrapment risk as early as 2014. They knew. They marketed it anyway because regulation oversight was fragmented across 17 different countries, and no single body had authority to enforce a global recall. Meanwhile, the International Bobsled and Skeleton Federation launched a formal audit of Whistler Sliding Center in British Columbia. The investigation revealed what should have been obvious years earlier. The wall height at turn 19 was insufficient by 40 centimeters. The unpadded steel pillar that killed Nodar Kumaratashvili in 2010 had nearly claimed 3 other athletes during trial runs. The track had been certified safe. It wasn't. These revelations forced a reckoning. In 2018, the International Olympic Committee mandated an equipment standards overhaul. Spray skirts underwent complete redesign. Mandatory safety certifications replaced voluntary compliance. Padding requirements for all sliding sport facilities became enforceable law. But the response came too late for 6 athletes. A safety official from the IOC, speaking anonymously in 2019, offered a confession that echoed through every affected family's home. We waited for deaths to count as data. The question that haunted coaches, engineers, and bereaved families was deceptively simple. How many near misses had been ignored? In 2017, a luge athlete who survived a crash at the Whistler track during a training run gave her first interview. She described feeling her sled shift beneath her, the wall rushing forward, the millisecond where she knew she might die. She lived. But her equipment telemetry data, collected in real time, had been filed away without review. In 2014, a canoeist practicing in the same pool where Sergei Chirkunov drowned managed to free himself from an identical spray skirt entrapment. He never reported it. Fear of losing sponsorship, of being labeled a liability, of missing his Olympic window kept him silent. From 2020 onward, equipment oversight became mandatory. Every sled, every spray skirt, every padding installation face pre-Olympic certification. Some deaths were prevented. Some athletes still hesitated to report defects, their careers hanging in the balance. The equipment was engineered to protect them, to make them faster, safer, unstoppable. Instead, for 6 athletes across 3 decades, it became their coffin. The Olympic rings promise excellence, but excellence demands a price. And for too long, that price was paid in silence.